Hello everyone, welcome back to Indycar on Sunday. My name's Gordon Ross. Today's subject is the Hoop demonstration. This was the Hands Off Our Parliament demonstration which happened on Friday afternoon last week. Now, many of you who don't get your news from social media may not even know that any kind of demonstration took place in Edinburgh on Friday, because the mainstream television channels, both STV and the BBC, completely blacked out all news of this event. Even though it lasted from 10 o'clock in the morning till 5 at night, they couldn't seem to get a news team to come along there with a camera and just film even a 30-second talking head shot of anyone at all. And this is a major demonstration by 5,000 people on the doorstep of the democratic heart of Scotland. And the BBC, in its wisdom, and STV decided that they were going to drop that news in favour of telling us about a dead horse's head that was found in a burn in Ayrshire. Now, forgive me for sounding a bit cynical here, but this is reminiscent of drop the dead donkey. This is feed them a load of crap instead of actually giving them some news. We were treated to a wonderful picture of a completely empty street in Glasgow city centre, where the fire brigade were just damping down the last ashes of a fire, where there was nothing happening at all, and this was put out as news by the BBC. STV carried the story of the dead horse's head found in the burn. What kind of country is it that we live in when our own news media will not cover major political events that are happening in the actual capital of the country, right in front of the parliamentary building? We've had two speakers, I think Tommy Shepherd, I don't remember who the other person was, who came along to speak at the Hands Off Our Parliament event. And that event was a gigantic success, incidentally. That's the biggest number of OAPs that have ever demonstrated anywhere in Scotland, I think, that day. Many of the rest of us were working, including myself, on Friday and couldn't make it. But the foot soldiers who turned up on the day were largely made up of retired people. People who normally wouldn't come out of their houses to demonstrate about anything, but they went. From all over Scotland, they came to Edinburgh for that event. And it was a massive success. They encircled the Parliament not just once, but they had enough people there to encircle it 4 times. There was 4 times the turnout that the event organisers had expected. That shows you the strength of feeling that there is in favour of protecting our Parliament from the power grab which is so blatantly going on at the moment. The Tory party is asking, and I'm saying this without cracking a smile, they're asking to borrow 24 of these powers just for a short while they negotiate with the Europeans. Now, why would they need to borrow those powers for a short while to negotiate, unless they were planning to negotiate all those powers away? The fishing rights, for example, are one of those things that they want to hang on to. Farming, agriculture policy, the common agricultural policy, the common fisheries policy are all things that they want to barter for a good deal with Europe. So they're not going to borrow these 24 powers, they're going to sell them. That's the whole point. We're never going to see them again. Unfortunately, they can't do that, because the Scottish Continuity Bill will finally pass its final process stages in the next few days, and then it will be law that Scotland must have these powers back. And that is the view of our elected representatives in our own Parliament, that these powers legally belong as devolved powers, which they are. They're not reserved to the Scottish Parliament without passing through Westminster or any other kind of filtration or selection processes. So that was the major thing. A big, huge event in Edinburgh that was completely and utterly omitted from the news on purpose to make sure that as few people knew it was happening as possible, and that we're all distracted by this dead horse's head in a burn in Ayrshire. I mean, it has got to be the most ridiculous situation that we've ever encountered. What do we need to do to get a media in this country which is capable and actually brave enough to report the facts? Are these journalists so scared about losing their jobs that they will not go and investigate a story and report on it? Are they so terrified of their line managers that they can't say, well listen, I'm going to take a team out there and report on this thing? Are they really so scared that they can't do that? Is there not anybody in there with a backbone enough to go and report on a real political story? It's a piece of nonsense. It should stop now. I have advised everybody publicly on my feed to stop watching STV news completely. It's utter rubbish. There's nothing Scottish about it. It's even worse now than the BBC Scotland output, if that's possible. We are having to have the Chinese Central Television News Company come to cover a major constitutional event in our own country. We have to invite another news team from halfway around the globe to bring us news that we should be getting from our own broadcasters, for God's sake. Why is that? Why is nobody more angry about it than they are? Why is there not a public outcry about this? Are we so inured that we are just sheep, that we're just happy to be fed the crap that is pushed out as news to us? We've been treated like mushrooms here. We're kept in the dark and we're fed on a diet of utter manure from one day to the next. It's pants, it's rubbish, it's bake-off, it's Great British this, it's Great British that. No actual news of what's really going on in politics is coming out of any of the media in Scotland at all. Not a word. And this morning we had the Daily Mail making one of the most libelous front pages that it has ever done in Scotland, where it has claimed completely wrongly that the STV spent, or no, I get this right, they paid Facebook £100,000 to snoop on our data. Now, this is a complete lie. Not only that, but it's a fabrication. Nobody was paid to snoop. The SNP paid £43,000 for the same access to social media that every other party had. Remember, the Tories spent over £2 million on accessing internet facilities, mostly on Facebook, I have to say. The Labour Party, £500,000 spent on Facebook. The Lib Dems, a similar amount, I think it was 400,000, and so on. The SNP was the lowest spending party in terms of social media output. And yet the Daily Mail is making this libelous statement. So not only do we have a British press which completely omits Scottish news so that we don't know about it, but they also make up lies and make sure that they are on the front page to make people think that the SNP is committing some kind of crime, when in actual fact it is the Tories who are committing the crime. £2 million they paid Facebook to get access to our data. 2 million. That's far, far above the £43,000 that the Scottish National Party paid. £43,000 is nothing in terms of media access these days. So I don't know about you, but I'm pretty bloody angry about it, and I think we all should be pretty bloody angry about it. I really hope that all of the pensioners, and there were thousands of them who turned up in Edinburgh to support Devolution, and they weren't SNP members. Most of these people came from other parties. They came from the Socialist Party, they came from the Labour Party, they came from even the Lib Dems. The only party not represented at the Hands Off Our Parliament demonstration were the Tories, and I think that tells you everything that you need to know about the Conservative Party. They are anti-Scottish, anti-devolution, anti-independence, pro-British. Nothing else matters to the Tories but Britain and their empire. If I were in charge of Scotland, which obviously I'm never going to be, but if I ever was in charge of Scotland, I would create a law which bans all British parties from having any representation in Scottish parliamentary debate. Why are we the only nation on earth which allows MSPs from another country to sit in our parliament and fight against our national interest and vote down every good thing that our government tries to do? What other country would allow somebody else's country's parties to come and sit in their parliament and mock it every week, as the Tories do? and allow somebody like Ruth Davidson to come in and make a mockery of that Parliament and try to infantilise the importance of Holyrood. We have a devolved government. We have a devolved Parliament. We are independent of London financially. We make more money per head of population than anywhere else in the United Kingdom. We have no structural deficit. We operate at a profit every year for the last 30 years. Last year we made over £2 billion surplus. This year our trade with China has increased by 40%. Now that is very telling. The Chinese can see the potential in Scotland. That is why they sent their media to cover our event. And that is why the British media did not turn up. They don't want us to know that we are trading better with China than the rest of the UK. They don't want us to know that we have a huge future ahead of us as a trading partner with the Chinese state. The fact that China is buying so much from Scotland shows that they know that we have a future. They know that outside of the UK and on our own, we will be able to pump more and more trade into China. And the Chinese, for their part, are prepared to invest in Scottish renewable energy. They are going to pump billions of pounds into our economy, and we are going to miss out on it because we are attached to the UK. Not only that, but there is always the same problem of Brexit looming ahead of us. Brexit is the thing which is splitting the Union apart. The Scottish National Party is not splitting the Union apart. The Tories are doing that themselves. The DUP in Northern Ireland is hell-bent on repartitioning Ireland and bringing Northern Ireland out of the EU and separating it from the Republic forever. That's their state, that's their aim. They do not want Northern Ireland reunifying under any circumstances, and they do not want it as part of the EU. They want to be ruled by London. That's their game. If there is a soft border in Northern Ireland, a porous border where Northern Ireland has got parity with European laws all the time, then that would apply to Scotland as well. Scotland should have the same frictionless border and stay in the trading, stay inside the Eurozone, the European Economic Area, and they should also stay inside the Customs Union in the same way that Northern Ireland is doing. And this is why this circle cannot be squared. There is no way that the UK can deal with the Irish problem. They've lied about it consistently. They've pretended that they're going to come up with a solution. They've no intentions of coming up with any solution. The Europeans are saying that time is running out for Britain to solve the Irish issue of the border, and if they don't solve it, then the transition period will be taken away. The transition period is taken away, then on the 19th of March 2019, we will leave the European Union with nothing. Nothing at all. No trade deals in place with anybody else, and no trading position with Europe whatsoever. Instantaneously, and I mean, Scotland trades 40% of its exports go to Europe at the moment. 40% of our exports are in danger because of Brexit, because of the Tories, because of the DUP, because of the repartitioning of Ireland, because of everything that they're doing to bust this union themselves. So when it does come to the vote, and it will come very soon, I think, but when it does come to the referendum, it will not be us that has forced this issue. And it will not be the SNP who have forced us to the brink of splitting the union. It'll be the union itself which is doing this. It has turned its back on Scotland completely. It has decided that we are an inconvenience, that we are to be ignored, not listened to, and forced into wrecking our own economy for the sake of a few racist bigots in England. Because that's what this is about. It's about foreigners not coming into England. It's about the colour of a bloody passport, for God's sake. Who the hell cares what colour the passport is? I mean, they don't want black people in the country, but they're happy to have a black passport. It's just a crazy, crazy notion. The whole idea of Brexit is plainly xenophobic, has been from the beginning. Scotland's not a xenophobic country. There are something like 12% of Scots who claim to vote Conservative. Well, when we're independent, if those people still want to live in the Union, then we will happily escort them to the border and close the door behind them, because they will not be welcome here. And I say the same thing about the BBC and STV. Those people who are not prepared to report properly and accurately and truthfully on what is going on in this country, those people who don't have the backbone to report properly at the BBC, they will be the first people invited to cross the new border into England, because England will put up a wall itself. They're going to put up a wall across Ireland, they'll put up a wall across southern Scotland as well. And anybody on this side of it who's still a Tory will be faced with a choice. Do they want to shut up and live as Scots, or do they want to keep moaning and whinging about what's going on in Scotland from the other side of the wall? Because they're not going to be I don't see why we should let them stay here if they're plainly going to work against the interests of the country. Anybody who claims that Scotland is better off being ruled by another country is plainly in the pocket of that other country. They're not Scottish. They are British. They are people who want Scotland to be kept down. They want it to be a nuclear dumping ground. They want its oil, but they don't want to pay for it. They want its land to use for hunting and shooting for their wealthy friends. They don't want anybody in Scotland to have too much. They want all the good jobs to be in England. This is the way the country is set up at the moment, and this is what's wrong with it. I loved the fact that so many elderly and older people turned up at Hoop. I think it's very important now that those people who actually demonstrated for the very first time in their lives at Hoop now go and talk to their other older friends and just point out to them, ask them, what did you see on the BBC on Friday night? What did you see on STV News on Friday night? Did you see me on the television? And they'll say, no, I didn't. So why didn't you see us on the television? Why do you think that was? Why did the media not want you to see my face in that demonstration? That will force people to think, because many older voters don't know what's going on, because they only get their information from television news. They don't get it from me, they don't get it from other online sources, although some of you do, obviously. But we need to encourage them to go and look at YouTube, to look at sites like mine, like Bella Caledonia, like Reverend Stuart Campbell's Wings Over Scotland, like Business for Scotland. There are so many places to look, like Independence Live. All of these groups and organisations which are doing their best to put the truth out. We need to reach more people. The media is being denied us. Denying us the media is denying us a method of getting our message out. That's the whole purpose of these blackouts. And we need to get around it, we need to get more people involved, and we need to get more people talking to their friends about what they are not seeing on television. We can't fight against the might of the big media in the usual way, but we can subvert it and undermine it by word of mouth. And that's about the only way we can do it. So I would urge any of you who are retired and have friends who they might be Labour voters or even Liberal Democrat voters, go and talk to them. You haven't got a hope in hell of converting a Tory voter into anything other than a Tory voter. They will never change. But I know a lot of good people who vote Labour and in the Labour Party are still good people and still value devolution, they still value Scottish Parliament, and they might change their minds. And they're the ones I think we should speak to. Anyway, I have to go and do a few more lessons before the end of the day. I hope you have a lovely day. The sun is shining, it's looking good. So let's get out there and spread the message. I'll see you later. Bye for now.